Welcome to the Home Business Podcast with Richard Captain Henderson, publisher of Home Business Magazine, and Sherilyn Colleen, managing editor. This how-to show helps you successfully operate your home-based business.
Greetings and welcome to the Home Business Podcast. I'm Richard Captain Henderson, your skipper at Home Business TV. Let's secure, foresee, and get underway. Pushed upward by increased bandwidth, smarter smartphones, new ideas about work, and even workplace shakeups from COVID, we are in a home-based revolution. Every year brings an increasing number of people working from home and operating home-based businesses. Balanced right, you can create multiple income streams from your home and still have time to do what matters most to you. So who better to comment on this revolution than Martha Krejci, author of the appropriately named book, The Home-Based Revolution. Martha Krejci is a self-described high-vibin mama, a wife, life coach, business coach, and growth strategist, and social media marketing powerhouse who is taking the internet by storm. Martha Krejci will share her perspectives on how you can build greater home-based success. So greetings, Martha Krejci. Welcome to the Home Business Podcast. Say hello to our listeners.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Thanks for being here. Let's see a copy of that book.
Oh, man. Here it is.
All
there you
right.
go.
Immortalized forever in print. Well, hearing a lot of good things about that book. Thanks for coming on today. And I guess you're in the startup capital of Florida, always becoming a more popular place as the rest of the country starts to get colder. How's everything in Florida today?
Oh, man. It is awesome. It's beautiful. It started mid-60s. Now we're in the 70s. It's good.
So you didn't take off to Disney World on me today?
Not today.
All right, cool. So anyway, I don't know what it is, but there's just something entrepreneurial about Florida. I look at the different zip codes of where our databases are and everything, and there's definitely a concentration there. So a good startup hub. And thank you for being with us to share some of your great advice. So let's get to know you better. I gotta ask this question. How did you come up with the term high-vibin mama?
It was what people were calling me. And so I just was like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. I can jive with that.
Where'd the vibin come from?
I don't know. They say like I have a good vibe, and they say that I'm high vibin. So like high frequency, high vibration. I would imagine that's probably.
So you got to have a niche. So, but it sounds like you've got a pretty balanced background with life coach and some growth strategist and consulting and that's given you a chance to get to know a lot of different people in the home-based world.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm a business strategist first and foremost, more than anything. That's what I've been for years. I used to work for GoDaddy for a little over 5 years in leadership. I've worked with thousands, tens of thousands of businesses, whether they're brick and mortar businesses all the way up to, Fortune 100 companies. So business is my space. I love it. And that's where my passion right now is showing families how to be able to do it from home so we can put families back together again, especially in this world that we live in right now.
Well, I started calling this a revolution like 10 or 15 years ago. So that caught my attention. And that's just, I think it's a good way to kind of sum up where everything is going, because it used to be a technological revolution, but now I think there's almost like a culture that is pushing people to do more home-based, that companies are more comfortable with it. I mean, I have a daughter that just started a job, and I mean, they have a hybrid work environment where it's almost commonplace that even if you're not running a business, you're working for a company, they've plugged into the home-based aspect of working also. Yeah,
absolutely. I think it's great. I mean, they look at the younger kids, they look at, millennials and whatever, and what they've deemed important to them is how they choose their work. It's not necessarily even how much they're paid. It's how much flexibility they have. And home-based anything just obviously by nature provides more flexibility.
I got to ask you, I've heard that the younger Gen X, Gen Y, the millennials. That, well, I guess that's you also.
It is.
That
Yeah.
It's a cultural thing where the older generation looked at the company and security and were more welded. They would more talk about who they worked for. Now, with younger, it's not so much who you work for, but what you're doing and how you're doing it. And I think that ties in with an increased acceptance of home-based.
Yep. I agree with you. I agree with you 100%.
Well, it does all start with change. Martha, how did you know it was time for a change in your career path?
Oh my gosh. Mine was like a brick wall. I ran right into a brick wall, but that brick wall I was at work one day. I was sitting in my cubicle, carpeted cubicle.
I love that, the Dilbert cubicle.
Yeah, smelled like the 60s. It shouldn't smell like the 60s. You don't know what you're actually inhaling. But I had my little quotes all around me that got me through my day and my pictures of my family and everything. And then I had my phone was in front of me and I had a message come through from my husband. It was a video and that wasn't typical. He didn't usually send me videos in the middle of my workday. And so you can't have your phone out on the calling floor. So I went to the bathroom. I had to watch it. And so to watch the video, like the very first, how a video shows you a screenshot first, so you can kind of see what it's going to be. It was my daughter on her feet. And that had never happened before. And so I pushed play and it was literally my daughter taking her
baby's first steps.
It was her first steps. They were clumpy and I saw her face. It was so bright and she was excited and she was so proud of herself. And as I see her walking toward me, the camera, all I could feel was like I saw my own face brighten up, because that's what you do. You mirror your child. And then in that same moment, I was like, what?
You're not there.
I'm not there. Yeah.
Wow.
And that was that. I was done.
So that was like the great moment right there. That maybe it had been building up, but that was the maybe the straw that broke the camel's back, and you realized it was time to make some changes.
100%. Yeah, it took us a long time to be able to have her, and I was like, "What on earth am I doing? I'm missing her growing up. Why did I have her if I'm not going to be a part of her life?" And it was I made a decision at that day.
Maybe that kind of ties in with this. Every expert has their own take on this. What advice do you have then as the first steps for someone in search of financial freedom? Like in your case, some of the first steps you did to transition out of that 1960s cubicle.
Yeah. Well, there's the first steps of tactically doing it, but there's the first step of the sort of Simon Sinek, finding your why. You need to know why you're doing what you're doing. My why was so very strong that I couldn't not do it. I had to. And so then the first tactical step, like if anybody's taking notes, the first thing that you need to do is you need to know who you're going to serve.
You need to know. In the military, we talked about strategy and tactics. So strategy, you got to kind of figure out why you're doing this and the direction you want to go in, the big picture. Then you got to meld that with tactics then on some steps to take.
Absolutely. You need to know darn sure who you're serving. And a lot of people, when I talk to them about who they're serving, your customer avatar, there's just so many people that sort of, and forgive me for using this word, but it's the only word to use. They regurgitate information like online. They'll learn something from somebody and then spit it out at somebody else. And really it's like, it's just a copy of a copy of a copy. And nobody knows.
Very unique then.
They don't know what they're talking about. And so what we really need to do is we need to be able to look back into our life and see the different fires or the different challenges that we've had in our life, be able to look at them and say, okay, here are my different challenges. I've made it through all of those challenges. What is the one that I really want to serve the most? What is the version of myself that I want to be able to just sit there with them and help them get to the other side of what they're doing? And so once you choose that person, then you know how to be able to serve them. The rest of your business is going to be easy peasy lemon squeezy, because you know who you're serving.
Say that again. I love to trademark ezy squeezy.
Easy peasy lemon squeezy. I got it from my 6-year-old. I don't know.
So
my word.
you recommend when you want to know the direction you're going, and you recommend tying into some kind of experience you've had in the past that you're comfortable with, or something you've done in the past.
100%. That's where your success is. Anybody that's just starting a business to start a business if they're lucky, they might get successful, but it won't be sustained. So any success is actually going to be based on serving a previous version of yourself. Like true sustained success is going to be that.
I like that take on it. Yeah, it ties in with who you are and where you've been. That's kind of a unique perspective on business startups. You always talk about, go research the market and see what you like and this and that. But, I think maybe you are dooming yourself to failure if you don't tie it into some kind of past experience.
Well, you're not going to have what it takes to be able to push through the low times. You have the high times and the low times as an entrepreneur, no matter where you're at, brick and mortar or home base, doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. You're going to have high times and low times. You're not going to be able to push through the low times if you're not passionately involved with this individual. You're passionately involved with who you used to be. So by nature, you're going to be passionately involved with the people that you are serving that come to you. So it's like a hack almost.
Interesting. Well, let's talk more about your own home business, Martha. How do you help others fulfill their passions in their own home businesses?
Yeah, so I help people. There's a number of different ways that I help. So I have group coaching, I have courses, I have, we do one-on-ones. I have a network marketing arm. Like there's all sorts of different ways that I can help. But what I do basically is I help them understand who their person is. I help them understand how they're going to serve their people. And then essentially I help them create, and the best way to describe it is like the chain on the bike. So like all businesses look the same. If you look at them as a row of bikes, all bikes look the same. But the only bike that's actually going to go anywhere is the bike with the chain on it, right? And so the chain on the bike really breaks down to community and content strategy. When we break it down to two major things, building a community that you can then serve, and then your content strategy, so you're always getting fresh eyeballs on what you're doing, so the community is always building. The community then is nurtured by you, and a lot of them will buy, some won't, but who gives a rip? You're serving and you're still making money because a lot of them are going to buy anyway.
So the community is kind of your niche. That's that's maybe your target market, or
it's your people. It's your version of yourself. Yeah.
So you almost have to be a psychologist in what you're doing. That's interesting take to tie it into. I like that about the chain on the bicycle, right? In that so many people build the infrastructure of what they're going to do, but they don't put the chain on to really make it work properly.
Yeah. They do what they see other people do, and God bless them. That's what I did in the very beginning, years ago. I did what I saw other people doing, but the thing is, it's that whole iceberg mentality, right? You only see part of what they're really doing, mm-hmm. and you don't know if they're even successful. So, if you're copying somebody,
you give them like a sanity check, reality check.
Right. I mean, at the end of the day, my goal for my people is for them to have this life that I'm living right now. And there's nothing that I won't do. So we're constantly innovating and making sure that they understand every angle of what they're doing, instead of just popping out a course and saying, have at it. It's like constant innovation and making sure that people get what they're doing. So there's always just new angles on it.
Yeah, there's so many people out there to target with the internet. You've got to get that, like you're saying, that fresh content. I want your kind of take on this with people newly getting into a business. I say everybody has to look at themselves as a salesperson. And that means if you look at yourself as a salesperson, you got to be engaged in sales each day. And that sometimes a lot of people think that the sales will just happen automatically. Is that, do you have any comments on that as far as the chain on the bike?
We agree. There are graceful ways to do sales. And I think that a lot of people shy away from any sort of business at all, whether it be network marketing or their own business or their own, coaching, consulting courses, whatever. They shy away from it because they're like, I don't want to sell. I don't want to come across as a sleazy car salesman. I mean, honestly, that's what people
Right.
think of when they think
They
of
have the
sales.
wrong perspective on sales, on selling.
Exactly. Yeah. So if we can just get them to understand that there's a graceful way to do this that doesn't feel like sales. It doesn't even look like sales. It looks like service. And then your people, I mean, how many times have you been at, a conference or something and you hear somebody speak and you're like, man, I love what this person's saying. You're like
They're
on the edge of your seat. Right. But you're taking notes and you're taking notes and you're taking notes and you're getting a ton of value. And then at the end, they tell you nothing about where to work with them. That's the worst experience ever. The best experience ever is for somebody to say, hey, if you dig what I'm talking about right now and you want to work with me, then here's where you can move further down the rabbit hole, right? That is a good experience. And people don't understand from that perspective that, man, people are looking to buy from people that are giving them value. We just go from our own experience of, I don't want to be sold to all the time. But you do want to buy stuff from people that are actually serving.
So earlier you talked about two key components, one of them being content. So this gets into, if you're putting out good content to people, that maybe is kind of where you get the hook and where you're actually doing your selling. You're giving people information that's valuable content.
Absolutely.
And that starts the whole thing.
Yep.
Well, what are some of the success stories you've experienced in the home-based revolution with some of the people that you've worked with?
Yeah, I have. One woman had been trying to build a home-based business for 13 years and was going to conferences, doing all of the things. She was spending the money. 13 years. I know, right? I'm like, my goodness.
She needs you.
Right? But whenever she started taking my stuff, within 6 months, she was able to bring her husband home from work who hated his job, her kids who had stopped asking her to read to them because she didn't have time because she was hustling. They started asking her to read to them again because now she has time because she doesn't have to hustle. That's not what I teach. And so there's like, her whole world has changed. She's in Canada. She's getting ready to move to Florida pretty soon. So there's that too, right? They have opportunities.
Got that startup community in Florida.
Yeah. There's another person that their insurance dropped them. Her daughter has to have something that costs, I think it's $25,000 a month. It's like a treatment that her daughter needs, between 15 and 25,000. I can't remember exactly, but a lot. And her insurance dropped them and she didn't know what the heck she was going to do. Like, this is life-saving treatment for her daughter. Mm-hmm. And within a few months of being in my program, she's fine. She's able to go ahead and pay for the thing for her daughter every month and then still be able to pay bills and stuff like that. There's those sorts of stories that are happening everywhere. So I don't lead with, hey, become a millionaire, although that's what everybody technically says they want. But in reality, you want that because of what that's going to bring to you. You want that because of the life that's going to afford you. You want that because now you're going to be able to afford the thing that was scary as heck that you weren't going to be able to afford to save your daughter's life.
I guess a good way of looking at it is you're getting beyond the business aspect of it, and it's a lifestyle, a lifestyle improvement. And
yes,
I think so many people get the priorities wrong. They're like trying to be successful in their business, but they realize that the improvement of the lifestyle can be that success also.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. What I teach is we work 5 to 10 hours a week. If we want to work more than that, we choose to work more than that, but we don't have to work more than 5 to 10 hours a week, which gives you the rest of your life. I got to get
some of your secret sauce. More than 5 or 10. Maybe I've got to take a look at my mindset, which is your book highlights the importance of mindset. What does it mean to grow your mindset?
It's just, and there's lots of people that talk about mindset, and some people may have already rolled their eyes just since we said the word, but really what it is there's a fixed mindset and there's a growth mindset. So you're either believing that life is what it is and that's all it's ever going to be. right? Kind of like the Popeye mindset.
Mhm.
And then the growth mindset is looking forward to, okay, I want this. So I want this thing in my life. So say you want to be a millionaire. Well, I want $1 million, I want $1 million. Let's just say that. So I want $1 million. Awesome. How do I get there? Reverse engineer how to be able to actually get there. Now your mind is working on a solution rather giving any sort of rip about what your current situation is. And when your mind is working on the solution, there are scientific things that are happening. It's called neuroplasticity. People can Google it if they want to. But there are
Neuroplasticity?
Neuroplasticity.
You really did, yeah.
It's a scientific thing. It's what your brain does. You have automatic loops. They automatically loop, okay? And these are self-beliefs. This is self-talk. But what it does is it creates the world around you. And so what you can do is you can reprogram those thoughts based on that what you choose instead of what you believe to be true. Either of these things will be true. That's the thing.
Just you've got to not only take the right steps, but you've got to look at your mind, how you're thinking about things. I imagine a lot of this is subconscious. And so you have to sort of deal with, kind of programming yourself subconsciously.
You can consciously program your subconscious. That's exactly what you do, is by choosing what you're thinking about, choosing what you're saying to yourself, choosing what your reality is. That's consciously programming your subconscious, which will then run like a flywheel.
So that's kind of what you're talking about then with mindset, is to not just the superficial thing of mindset, but it's helping to, tweak the way you think, and maybe some kind of even subconsciously, and that will move you in the right direction. Let's talk about another thing along these lines. You bring up another interesting point of be you. Why is it so important to embrace the be you when it comes to succeeding in your home-based lifestyle?
Because if you're not you, you're going to work every day of your life because you're pretending to be somebody else. So if you're trying to be this version of a person that maybe you see out there, you think this person is successful in business, and then you try to, become that person, but you're not really, then what you're going to do is you're working every day instead of just being who you are. You're working every day. And the worst thing that's going to happen is that you're going to end up attracting the wrong people to you that then require you to work even more every day. So if I show up totally unashamed at who I am, and if I've got like goofy looking hair and no makeup and whatever, if I don't care, then the people that come in don't care either. And so I don't have to become this like, prettied up, perfect version of myself every day in order to just show up, because we need to consistently show up for our people. But if you have to become this other version of yourself in order to show up, it's not sustainable for the human spirit, and you will stop, which means your business stops. So
is there something where you're not coming off authentic if you're not, embracing 100%. The be you?
Yeah, you definitely, people will smell that out in like 2 seconds. If you're not being authentic, they'll be able to sniff out that like there's something weird about it. Like there's something that doesn't connect, right? Like it's a non-verbal even. It's like there's something
that's like you're trying too hard or something. And I imagine that would bleed over into sales because it would hurt credibility, the authenticity and the whole thing.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so I guess I got to stop trying to be Brad Pitt and just embrace myself here. Okay.
He should start trying to be you, is what I'm saying.
Well, Martha Krejci, this has been a great discussion on your take on the home-based revolution. Do you have any final points you'd like to share? I understand you might have some kind of a tool or a freebie for listeners.
Yeah, I do. Final point that I'd like to share is just that this is for everybody, that there's not one single individual out there on the planet that can't do this and can't have this life for themselves. So please, if you're thinking that yourself, this is cool for somebody else, but not for me, please stop thinking that, because you're only doing yourself a disservice and you're deferring your own success. So there's that. The tool that I have is that the link is going to be on the sheet, on the podcast sheet, but the link, and I'll just say it real quick, is Martha Krejci, and it's KREJCI.com/tool. And so what you're going to get at that tool is, I created this for my own people that were benchmarking their own success based off of other people. And so what I want them to do, and I want everybody to do, is to benchmark their own success off of themselves. And so what this is doing is it is showing you how to be able to keep track of your own social media posts, your own things that you have, had a call to action for, whether it's to join a list or if it's to buy a thing. Keep track of your own posts, and then you can keep track of the sales on that post, how many people entered your email list off of that post, and so on. So you're benchmarking off your own success. And so the things that do really well, like I go into a full training on this post as well, or on this tool as well, whenever you sign up for it. But what you're able to do, you guys, is you're able to see what has done really, really well, and then keep doing that in new and different ways. And then the things that do poorly, you can just let those fall off and don't even try them again. You don't need to worry about those. Just keep working on the things that do really, really well, and your own business is going to expand.
Outstanding. Well, as Martha was saying, we'll have a podcast page, and we'll put this link up there. But we always like to end with some kind of an action step on a podcast. So listeners, take this first step, if you're not already doing that, to benchmark yourself and start measuring yourself against your own benchmark and build your beachhead from there. So Martha Krejci, thank you for being with us on the Home Business Podcast. To learn more about Martha Krejci and her book, The Home-Based Revolution, please visit withmartha.com or our podcast website for more information on guests. And we'll also have that link on the podcast page too. So thanks for joining us in this episode of the Home Business Podcast. Share your feedback with us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and our website, homebusinessmag.com. Visit the website for information on advertising, subscribe to the newsletter, read the book, The Home-Based Business Startup Guide. For more information, visit homebusinessmag.com or thehomebusinessexpo.com. I'm Richard Captain Henderson saying, anchors away. We'll talk with you soon. Until then, make it a great home-based biz day.